The road to Adedayo's estate was silent, except for the crunch of dry leaves beneath Tomi's feet. The villagers had begged her not to go. They told her stories of women who took the same path but never returned, of laughter that turned into cries in the forest at night. But Tomi had no choice. Her mother was ill, and her younger siblings hadn't eaten in 2 days. The job at Adedayo's mansion promised more money than she had ever seen. Her heart pounded as she followed the trail deeper into the trees, clutching her small bag and whispering prayers under her breath. The forest grew darker, the air thicker, as if unseen eyes watched her every step. When she finally saw the mansion, her breath caught. It stood tall and ancient, built from old stones covered in moss, with oil lamps flickering in the windows. At the gate, a guard with a calm face opened the door and said softly, "The master has been expecting you." His voice echoed strangely, like two voices speaking at once. Tomi stepped inside and the scent of incense wrapped around her. Moments later, Adedayo appeared, tall, graceful, with eyes so deep they seemed to pull her in. His smile was gentle, yet his presence filled the air with power. "Welcome, Tomi," he said, his tone almost musical. "From tonight, this is your home." Something about his words made her shiver, but she bowed respectfully. She could feel that this house was alive, that its walls whispered secrets. Still, she told herself it was just her imagination. She needed this job, no matter what the villagers said. A young Nigerian woman, Tomi settled into her small room at the far end of the mansion, a place that smelled faintly of rain and old wood. The servants were polite but distant, speaking in hushed tones whenever she walked by. At night, the mansion changed. The walls groaned as if breathing, the candles flickered without wind, and Tomi often thought she heard soft hissing beneath the floor. Still, Adedayo treated her kindly. He always spoke to her with calm respect, asking about her family and making sure she ate well. His charm and gentleness slowly eased her fears, though she never forgot the villagers' warning. One evening, as Tomi cleaned the hallway, she noticed a door that hadn't been there before. It was carved with strange symbols, and a snake coiled in the center. She reached out to touch it, but before her hand met the wood, a deep voice behind her whispered, "Never open that door." She turned quickly, and Adedayo stood there, his expression unreadable. His eyes glowed faintly in the dim light, and for a moment she thought she saw scales shimmer across his neck. He smiled again, softer this time. "Some doors must remain closed," he said, and walked away. That night, Tomi lay awake, listening to the steady beat of the rain. Just as she began to drift into sleep, she heard it again, the low, rhythmic hiss echoing from deep beneath the mansion. She pressed her ear against the floorboards, her heart racing. Somewhere below, something enormous moved. And when she whispered a quiet prayer, the hissing stopped, as if the unseen creature was listening. Days passed quietly, and Tomi began to grow more comfortable in the mansion. The gardens were lush and full of strange flowers she had never seen before. Sometimes, Adedayo joined her as she walked, asking gentle questions about her childhood and her dreams. She noticed that he rarely left the estate, and when he did, he always returned before dusk. One afternoon, as she swept the main hall, she noticed the door with the serpent carving again. Something about it called to her, like a soft voice whispering her name. Against her better judgment, she reached for the handle. The door creaked open slowly, revealing a spiral staircase that led down into darkness. The air grew colder with every step she took. Strange markings covered the walls, and the smell of incense and earth filled her nose. At the bottom, she found a vast underground chamber lit by flickering oil lamps. In the center stood a stone statue of a woman holding a serpent, her eyes carved with sorrow. Offerings of food and jewelry lay around it, still fresh. Tomi's hands trembled. This was no ordinary place. It felt sacred and dangerous. Suddenly, a cold wind swept through the room, and she heard the sound of scales sliding over stone. The floor seemed to move beneath her. Before she could run, Adedayo's voice echoed behind her, deeper than she had ever heard it. "You shouldn't be here," he said softly. When she turned, his eyes glowed gold, and for a heartbeat, his pupils became slits like a snake's. Fear gripped her, but instead of anger, he only looked sad. "Some truths are better left sleeping," he murmured, then turned away into the shadows. That night, Tomi could not sleep. She realized the mansion's secret was not just a rumor. It was alive, and it had chosen her to find it. The rain came without warning. Heavy clouds gathered above the forest, and thunder rolled like distant drums. The mansion's lamps flickered as lightning flashed across the sky. Tomi was alone in the kitchen, preparing Adedayo's dinner, when the power went out completely. The silence that followed was thick and uneasy. She lit a lantern, the flame shaking in her trembling hand. Then she heard it, the deep hiss again, louder than before, echoing through the mansion's empty halls. Her heart pounded as she followed the sound, lantern held high. The air smelled of rain and something ancient. When she reached the forbidden chamber, the door was already open. Light glowed faintly from below. Against every instinct, she descended the stairs once more. The air grew heavy, and a strange warmth filled the chamber. There, before her eyes, stood Adedayo, but he was changing. His skin shimmered with scales, his eyes burning gold. She froze, unable to scream, as his body lengthened and twisted, transforming into a massive serpent that coiled around the stone altar. Tomi fell to her knees in shock, but then the serpent spoke, its voice deep and sorrowful, yet familiar. "I am still Adedayo, cursed by the gods for breaking a sacred bond." Through trembling lips, she asked why. The serpent's eyes dimmed. "I loved a priestess and betrayed her for power. The gods bound me to this form until a pure heart chooses to love me again, both as man and beast." Tears filled Tomi's eyes. She could feel his pain as if it were her own. The storm outside roared louder, lightning tearing through the sky. She wanted to run, but her heart wouldn't let her. For the first time, she realized fear and compassion could live in the same heart. The next morning, the mansion felt different. The air was still heavy from the storm, but sunlight streamed weakly through the windows. Tomi tried to pretend nothing had happened, yet every sound made her jump. When she looked at Adedayo later that day, he appeared normal again, calm, elegant, and human. He did not mention the night before, but his eyes carried a quiet sadness. "You have seen the truth," he said gently. "Now the choice is yours, to stay or to leave before the curse consumes you too." Tomi couldn't speak. She wanted to run far away, but her heart whispered otherwise. That night, while cleaning his study, she noticed a large mirror leaning against the wall. The glass shimmered strangely, like ripples on water. When she looked closer, her reflection was gone, replaced by the image of a woman dressed in white beads and feathers. The spirit's eyes glowed softly. "You are the one chosen to break his curse," the voice echoed in Tomi's mind. "But love alone is not enough. You must face the shadows that bind him too." The image faded, and Tomi stumbled back, trembling. From that night on, her dreams were filled with visions. The priestess weeping beside a river, Adedayo kneeling before the gods, and a serpent coiled protectively around a burning heart. Each dream felt like a warning. She realized the curse was not just about love, but also forgiveness. If she wanted to save him, she would have to heal the wound left by betrayal and confront the darkness that haunted the mansion itself. At dawn, she knelt by her window, whispering a prayer. "If the gods chose me for this, then I will not run." Days turned into weeks, and Tomi remained in the mansion, drawn to Adedayo despite the fear that lingered in her heart. The villagers stopped speaking her name, convinced she had joined the list of those who vanished. But Tomi was not lost. She was preparing. The spirit from the mirror had appeared again in her dreams, warning her that the night of the blood moon would decide Adedayo's fate. If the curse was not broken before dawn, he would be trapped forever as a serpent, his soul fading into darkness. That evening, the forest fell silent. Even the crickets stopped singing. The moon rose red and full, its glow washing over the mansion like fire. Adedayo stood in the courtyard, his face pale but resolute. "You should not be here," he told her softly. "Tonight, the gods come for me." Tomi stepped closer, her voice steady. "Then let them find me with you." His eyes widened, glimmering with something between fear and hope. As the moonlight touched his skin, his body began to change again, scales emerging, bones twisting, his form collapsing into the serpent. The wind howled through the trees as spirits appeared, shadows with glowing eyes circling the courtyard. Tomi's heart raced, but she did not run. She fell to her knees before the serpent, her voice trembling, yet strong. "He is not the same man who sinned. He has repented, and I forgive him." The spirits roared in anger, the ground shaking beneath her. But Tomi reached out, pressing her hand to the serpent's head. The moment her fingers touched him, light burst from the ground like sunrise. In that instant, the hissing stopped, the shadows faded, the curse began to crack.
The light surrounded them both, golden and warm, spreading through every corner of the mansion. Tomi could feel her heart beating with his, her tears falling freely. When the glow faded, she looked up. Adedayo stood before her again, in human form. He fell to his knees, trembling. "You chose to love me when the world told you to fear me," he whispered. "Why?" Tomi smiled faintly, her hands still shaking. "Because love that is pure doesn't see monsters, it sees the pain that made them." As dawn broke, the spirits appeared one last time, their forms now calm and bright. The spirit of the priestess stepped forward, her voice soft like wind through leaves. "Your love has done what power could not," she said. "You have set two souls free." She turned to Adedayo. "Live now as a man with a clean heart. Do not forget the mercy that saved you." With that, she vanished into the morning light, leaving behind the scent of rain and peace. From that day, the mansion was no longer feared. Tomi stayed by Adedayo's side, and together they rebuilt their lives, not through wealth or magic, but through kindness and faith. Villagers who once whispered now came to their gates for help and healing. The forest grew greener, the air lighter, and every night when the moon rose, a faint shimmer of gold could still be seen along Adedayo's skin, a reminder that some curses become blessings when met with love. Moral lesson: true love is not about perfection, but forgiveness. When you see beyond someone's scars, you awaken the part of them the world tried to bury. Compassion has the power to heal what even the gods have cursed. If you believe that love and forgiveness can conquer any darkness, share this story to inspire others, and let your heart remind the world that mercy still has power.